My name is Orlando Rivera. I'm one of the recent additions to the Agape Church. This testimony is the testimony of my mother, who I love dearly. Some people feel, and I've been there before, where you wonder if God truly exists. I'm an anesthesia provider, and so as an anesthesia provider, I'm very familiar with anatomy and physiology. Pretty much what you would consider an expert when it comes to the physiology of the human body. In February of 2010, I received one of the most devastating news that any son can receive. My mother had brain cancer. And so, having my oncology background, this was very difficult for me, because a lot of times tumors that occur in the brain are very difficult to eradicate. So, I was in the middle of my residency. My mom's tumor. My mom had a tumor next to her pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is about the size of a pea. My mom's tumor was the size of an olive. Okay. The surgeon, who was probably one of the best neurosurgeons in Porto Rico, had called us and sent out for a set of CT scans and an MRI just to confirm that, one, she wasn't having a major brain bleed, and that, two, that there was not going to be any other physiologic changes with my mom. So my grandmother also had Alzheimer's. She's a wonderful woman. She's got a sense of humor probably better than mine, and she was her caretaker. And my grandmother could not remember most of the time who my mom was, sitting in her recliner. And for a moment, she had clarity. She grabbed my mom's hand and told her that the Lord was going to heal her, that He was going to do a miracle so that we could be witness to His greatness. In that moment, my grandmother asked my grandfather to go make her some soup. And while he was preparing a soup for my grandmother reached over to my mom's hand and said, "He's even more glorious than you could possibly imagine."
Amen.
And she passed away.
Amen.
But my mom knew that my grandmother had passed away at that moment, and sitting in her recliner in her home with her family and the people that loved her. And although Alzheimer's had pretty much destroyed the majority of her brain, she had a moment of clarity. She knew who my mom was, called her by her name, and held her hand. She had, in telling her that she was going to be healed, she said that the Lord was going to do this so that we could be witness to His greatness. So, my mom knew in that moment that she was going to be healed. And so, I was making up to her, and I was like, now my grandmother's passed away. Now do you want me to come for my grandmother's funeral, or do you want me to wait until we have a set date for your surgery? She says, "Don't worry about it." She said, "I know God hears our prayers, and God has done what He needed to do." Okay. So March 1st, they scheduled for my mom for surgery, and Dr. Almodovar, he's probably one of the best neurosurgeons on the island of Puerto Rico. And when I mean he's one of the best neurosurgeons, he's one of the guys that came out to Harvard Medical. He is probably the best in the nation as far as neurosurgeons are concerned. So he discussed the surgery with my brother. He discussed and my mom and potential complications that he potentially could encounter. That she could be blind. Her pituitary could be completely destroyed, and then it's a matter of time before her body would just begin to shut down. So it's a very delicate procedure. Okay, you have to go to school for a very long time and become very proficient at doing surgery in the brain. So we were blessed that we had this surgeon that was going to take care of my mom. He also ordered a second set of MRIs and CT scans to confirm the location of the tumor, and that nothing had changed in the last 30 days. And everything stayed on track. heart rate issues, there's hypertension, diabetes was concerned. She's kind of a big lady, so all of these things are potential complications that could extend her ICU stay. We expected for her to be about 3 to 4 days in the ICU, followed by about a week worth of being on the step-down unit on the ward to take care of her. So I arrived in Puerto Rico. My brother, who was tearful and pretty much, worried, this is our mom, So I told him, don't worry about it. God's going to take care of it. We're going to be fine. Our dad had passed away, so now we're technically only one parent. And when you have both parents, you kind of take it for granted. But then you have one parent and you realize how important that person is. So even though I had a little bit of doubt, I confided in my mom because I trusted my mom. My mom is a very devout Christian, and she has a profound belief in God. Profound belief. And my mom was like, you guys need to relax. She goes, I'm having surgery, and I'm relaxed. I'm not concerned. And I'm like, but Mom, and I'm thinking my background, I'm like, this is just not going to be good. And she's like, God's going to do a miracle, and you and your brother are here because anytime God does something, there are always witnesses to His greatness. And that's why we were there. So we prepped. My mom was admitted the night before. That following morning, we got in there. And 6 o'clock in the morning, she was scheduled for surgery. But unfortunately, 6 o'clock in the morning came, 7 o'clock in the morning came, and no surgery. So we became a little worried and concerned. She was like, don't worry about it, it's all taken care of. That night, there was a gunshot wound, and the surgeon was in there doing emergency surgery. So about 6 o'clock in the evening is when they finally take my mom back to the operating room. So we headed back with my mom, escorting her all the way to the point where the main OR is. Dr. Tumor came out, and he said, we're going to do everything we can, just understand that there might be some complications. But it wouldn't be much longer. A couple hours later, my mom said, she should be out in a couple hours. We're still waiting. A couple hours later, we're still waiting. So my brother and I are starting to get a little concerned because it's been about 6 to 8 hours since she's been in the operating room. The doctor finally comes out and he greets us, and he has this puzzled look in his face. And to me, that was, I've seen this look before from surgeons, and it's kind of concerning. And I was like, so he has the MRI scans and the CT scans in his hand, and he's looking at them. And we were like, Dr. Lamar, how did things go? He says, he has a confused look in his face. He says, I'm not sure. And we were like, what do you mean you're not sure? You're the neurosurgeon with me. He's like, I'm not sure. He goes, I went in through the procedure and to the area where the pituitary and the tumor was supposed to be, and there's no tumor. The special equipment that he was looking for was to get a portable CT scanner up into the main operating room to scan my mom's head, because he was there at the area of the pituitary gland, and there is no tumor. There's nothing. And he came out and he sat with us, and he says, I'm a very educated man. I've been a neurosurgeon for a very, very long time. I win awards, and I've never, ever seen this. He says, here's your mom's scan of 30 days ago. Here's her scan 2 weeks ago, and here's her scan right now. He says, there is no tumor. He said, your mom told me that she was healed. And then he just looked at us and he says, if this is your God, then I want you to pray for me. He says, I've never seen this before. Because I've never seen a miracle happen right in front of my face. And so, to this day, 2 years later, my mom should have been blind. My mom should have had some hormonal problems. My mom should be in worse shape. Okay? She was in the ICU for about 4 hours. She was in the step-down unit for about 2 hours before they extubated her, and she started joking around with the nurses. The following morning, we brought her home. And I was like, so you're home? We were like, she's like, I told you I was fine. And, I did what I needed to do, cook for her that day. But at the second day of my stay there, my mom got up, cleaned the house, cooked me a dinner, and she's like, now it's my turn to take care of you.